if you knew you were enough? What would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette Byrne. Hello everybody, and welcome to my Enough Factor podcast. I'm your life coach and relationship solutionist, Suzette Byrne, helping you to redefine what makes you enough in life and in love on your own terms. This podcast, as its name suggests, is about your enough factor. And each week, I and my guests endeavor to amplify 3 critical factors of enoughness: your voice, your value, and your vision, so you can bring your authentic self into your relationships and experience love and life in a brand new way. Now, as much as I'm known to give advice, solicited or not, I wouldn't be as effective without this platform and you, my loyal enough warriors who tune in every week and send me texts and direct messages about how much the episodes resonate with you. Now, if you're new, what you'll experience here is what my listeners tell me keeps them coming. They love the honesty and the depth and how my podcasts fill in the blanks for them in ways that listening to a relationship video can't, or even talking to their therapist doesn't. I do it because I know what it's like to get a piece of information here and a piece there and try to put it together only to find out that I don't know what I don't know. That's why with my podcast and my coaching solutions, I don't just tell you how, but I tell you the why behind the how and help you to connect it in a way that is meaningful for you. That I found is the only way that it'll stick. That's also why over the next several weeks, I'm talking with men and women who, like me, found love later in life and aren't too proud to share with you not only what it took to find love, but how they are being challenged to do love differently this time. In fact, today's episode, part of my Finding Love Later in Life series, is being brought to you by my 3-month coaching program, Doing Love Differently. And it focuses on ending the cycle of self-betrayal, mistrust, and attracting Mr. Wrongs. If the way you're doing love ain't working, then hey, it's time to do love differently. To find out more about it, go to SuzetteSolutions.com/our programs. Check it out. Now, without further delay, today's episode. We have a wonderful episode for you today. I have the great pleasure of talking to my friend and fellow relationship coach, Trena Bryant. She is a truth teller, and I love truth tellers. But a little bit more about Trena. She's the owner of Aloma Solutions, a self-care, self-love company with a focus on relationships. As an intuitive love and life coach, she is dedicated to empowering and transforming the way we love ourselves to a higher level. She believes when we love ourselves more, we can love others better. She has taught self-love in the corporate and personal arenas, and she is a member of the Federal Coaching Network, where she's called on to coach federal employees from leadership to staff on all levels. So join me in giving an Enough Factor podcast welcome to none other than Trena Bryant. Hi, Trena.
Hi. You know what? You need to read that again. That sounds.
I felt good when I was saying it. I'm like, this girl is all of that, and I'm so glad that you said yes. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for asking. I truly, truly respect your message. So it's an honor to be here and talking to you.
So we're going to go into some self-love, and we both are in relationships too later in life.
Mhm.
How do you keep yourself together?
It's funny. It's funny because I always thought I was an extrovert, right? I always thought I was a person who had to be out there and doing something. But what I have found is I am okay. I am actually okay being with my family. Yes, and it's funny because my hubby, we're newly married. We haven't been married for a year yet. Right after we came back from honeymoon, all of this stuff started. So it was like, oh, okay, now we're really getting ready to get the test.
Yes, that's right. I forgot. Y'all are
Yeah.
newlyweds.
Yes, yes. So we were really getting ready to get the test of, okay, can you really, how is it? But, he is a, devout introvert. So as long as he has a backyard and projects to do, he is fine. And what I found is, in later in life, what I really appreciate is there's not that. I'm not saying every young person has this, but you know how sometimes there's a really needy thing that happens when you are younger in a relationship. And I know older people experience it as well, but for some reason it seems to taper down a little bit as you get older. We don't need that 24/7, I got to touch you thing going on. To realize that love exists. So,
yeah, it's almost like we don't need to be all on top of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
To know that we really do love each other, but yeah, we don't need to prove that to ourselves with all of that extra. Because it can get a little tiring at our age. We were laughing and talking about our age, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, girl, it's before I came on here with you. My husband had to bring the fan in because I just was like, you know what? I'm having a hot flash. And I was describing it to him. I said, it feels like somebody poured water on my fro and it's coming down my face. So he hurried up and got the fan. So I got 2 fans over me right now. So
the cross action happening.
Girl, it's all in there.
Yes.
I'm just so glad that I married someone that doesn't need a lot of extra stuff.
Right.
Because I'm at an age, as I'm sure you can testify, I'm at an age where I don't have all that extra stuff to give.
We have too many other things to do, so that is a good thing. That's a bonus of being in relationships older.
Yes.
Maybe I should say mature.
That's it. I'm like, we having a grown up relationship.
There you go.
Grown up one, not the fantasy one in our heads in our 20s and 30s,
right.
and possibly in our 40s. That might have died in our in my 50s and now resurrected. This is a real shown up, grown up one.
Yes.
And I'm actually finding it more fulfilling than the fantasy.
It really is, because it's life. In the fantasy, you have to always live up to this perfection type thing. But in real life, when it's going smoothly and you got things in hand, it's like, okay, we can do this, we can do this even through pandemic, so it's a little bit different. I agree. I think the real life, when you got it together, is so much better than the fantasy.
It is. Well, Trena, because we didn't trade questions or anything before we came on, right. I'm going to engage you in a little game.
Ooh.
Okay. I call it Truth and Dare.
Okay.
A little different from Truth or Dare because you get to pick. But in this one, now you got to answer both questions.
I am ready.
So you're ready. Okay, yes, here it goes. With the emphasis on self-love. Mm-hmm. What is a truth that self-love required you to see and dared you to take radical action about?
Ooh, let's see. Oh,
girl, we going deep already.
Oh, yes, we are. And I'm trying to think about what was it that I was forced to see. Control.
Yeah.
I did not realize how much I needed to be in control now. And let me tell you how this came to be.
Okay.
I was married before for 23 years, and I got married when I was 21, 22 years old. So I didn't grow, I grew up inside of being married. And then when I got a divorce, it was like, okay, I found me, right? And every decision that I made, because I was single came from me. Everything that I did came from me. And so I had control of things that I didn't realize until I got into this relationship that, okay, there's some stuff I'm going to have to let go. Now, some stuff I was happy to let go of, and some stuff I didn't even realize it was a control thing. But what it has made me see is that when you get into this whole self-care thing, you start, actually sharing your life with someone else, or whether you do or you don't. Sometimes self-care is about letting go of all of that control, to give yourself the opportunity to breathe, to give yourself an opportunity to reflect. And so I think that would be my reflection moment, was the releasing control.
Oh, that's one I'm sure all of our listeners probably did like I did, like that one. And because we like I said, we both got married later in life, found out forever loves later in life. And you don't realize how much you have veered away from having the capacity or even the thought of somebody else. Your children are one thing, but you can kind of tell them what to do.
Right. You overruling that.
You can't do that with your husbands. It doesn't go over very well. We wouldn't recommend that you try to tell men what to do. Don't do that. But one of my big takeaways, especially during the sheltering together, because my husband works from home one week, then works from the office the next week, then back home office. I had to come to grips with the very same thing because I was used to having the whole house to myself. And so now having to kind of share this co-working space and navigate our ways of being. And like one of the things I tell my husband, he always says, of course. I'm like, that's a man thing. Is that men never ask permission. They just do what they do. Right? And he's like, well, of course. And I'm just like, when I grow up, I'm gonna be just like you.
Right.
But they don't, they just kind of like, they're here.
They don't get that we sacrifice a whole lot more. Now, I'm not saying that we're not the fault of that.
Right.
But as women, we sacrifice a whole lot more simply because of tradition, culture, or just because of just the way that we are kind of made up. And when I say we, I'm talking about for the most part. I'm not speaking for everybody, but for the most part, we do sacrifice a lot. Include, like you say, men just go. They don't ask for permission.
Yeah.
And for us, for some reason, it's like, we have that desire to have that opportunity to give permission. So we feel like we have to ask it in return. And whether we get it or not, it's there. That need to, to make sure that everybody is okay, which means sometimes asking for permission. And we do it, without, I think of, so for example, when I think about my kids, and I used to try to explain this before, when I think of my kids, when you're married and you have kids, automatically, we as women, for the most part, we're going to take on that primary role of if they get sick, if they wake up in the middle of the night, if they need to this, if they need that. We take on that primary role just by default for the most part. I'm not saying everybody does. Well, when it comes down, or say the way we dress, we're gonna. It's kind of crazy because I don't know if I can really put it in words from what I'm trying to say. But we have a tendency to request permission for a lot of stuff, or take on the sacrifice of just doing being the first line of defense in something.
Yeah, do you think it's that nurturing thing kind of gone rogue? Where
it's nurturing.
Yeah, because it's nurturing without boundaries.
Right. Absolutely.
And for a lot of us, we saw our mothers or significant people in our lives really basically put themselves on the line for other people, and people glorified it. And I wonder if the evolution for us is learning to nurture with boundaries, and that boundary being self-care. So how do you know when you are moving from self-care into people pleasing? Because it sounds like that's what we're kind of teetering on.
Right. When I'm doing that, I normally find that I am responding differently internally. When I'm doing self-care, it feels right. I don't have any type of conflict or any type of tension inside of me. It feels right. But when I'm doing something just to please somebody else or just to, to do it because I am supposed to do it, there's a little bit of tension in there. There's a little bit of resistance because it feels like, just like what it is, I'm trying to please somebody instead of doing what I feel is for me, is the best for me. So I don't know how I recognize it. My temper is a little shorter. My patience is a lot shorter. It's not that 100% that you get when you're doing it for the right reason. And I'm not saying that pleasing people is not a right reason, but when you go to that limit and you kind of take away from you, it don't feel 100%. It don't feel 100% good outside. So.
It doesn't, and I think even though I'm so happy, I think I am woman, hear me roar. I love all that. I love being a strong, powerful woman with all of that. Mm-hmm. But I sometimes wonder that because we have entered into a world that has for so long been male dominated, mm-hmm. if part of the reason why we do leave self-care and go into people pleasing is because we feel like we have to prove we deserve to be there and prove that we are competent enough that a man would listen and take us seriously. And I know the world is changing because more women are running companies and so forth. But sometimes if that's been the way you have been sired, then even when you enter into your relationship, it's still that push-pull with your spouse. Sometimes you got to kind of go through all those little check marks within your head to give yourself permission to take care of yourself first, if it's something that you've not done in other areas of your life. Right. Are you finding that with a lot of your clients, or?
I think it's more routine. I think people don't realize it. I don't think people even realize that they're doing it until the discussion happens, which is really, and when you speak to my clients, it's really kind of hard because what I do when it comes down to self-love, everybody feel like they love themselves, Everybody, I mean, I'm sure if you ask everybody on the world, the majority, they're going to say, I love myself. But it's not until you ask the questions that they realize, hey, that has been such a routine for such a long time. I didn't even realize I was doing that. Mm-hmm. And so that reflection of self-love is a little bit different when you really look deep down inside of it. So, yeah, when it comes down to my clients, as far as, it's kind of tricky. Like I say, I have to first of all get them to the point of realizing that something is so a part of you that you don't even realize it until you realize it. We do things that we've learned from our childhood, that we heard from our childhood, and we don't realize that we're doing it because it's been such a part of our story for such a long time. It's just what we say. You heard people say, that's just how she is, or that's just how I am. Mm-hmm. And we don't realize that every single thing that we do, we have a choice. But because it's routine, we just feel like we're not paying attention to it. It's just, that's just what it is.
I totally get it. I know one of the biggest things that sometimes I hear when you talk about self-care, people are like, oh, like you said, I love myself, girl. I take myself out. Mm-hmm. I get my hair done when I want to. And all of that is a form of care. But can you talk to us about the depth of self-care that a lot of times people don't really get? They miss that part because they kind of think, well, I take care of myself. I buy what I want to buy when I want to buy it. I take myself out. I've traveled exotic places. I do this, I do that. But the self-care we're talking about is a little deeper than that, right?
It is a lot deeper. I mean, getting your nails done, get your pedicure is always nice. It's good. But when you talk about true self-care and true self-love, the way I like to put it is when I try to explain the difference is, imagine how you feel about your child or your sister or your mom or somebody who you say you love. When we get in front of the mirror and we say, oh my God, what is wrong? We would never say that to anybody we love. Or if we say, oh, I'm not going to do that because I ain't that good. We would never say that to somebody we love.
That's true.
When somebody tell our child or our sister, our mom, ask them to do something that we know they don't want to do, we tell them not to do it. But for us, we'll say, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So it's much deeper than just, having pretty nails or having, nice feet. It's a lot about what's internal. It's about the way you feel about yourself and actually you have some type of cognizance of what is going on. It's not just, like I say, it becomes such a routine. We don't even realize that we're doing it. If you stand in front of that mirror and it's not all about the goodness that you would give to your daughter, sister, mother, friend, or whoever, and you're talking down to yourself, is that self-love? Is that self-care? So it goes a lot deeper than just our external. We have to talk about what's internal and what we're saying to ourselves out loud or in our, internally, what we're saying.
I totally agree because I am a recovering people pleaser. I think I've said that. I really am. And there are days that I feel like, oh, I'm free. Hallelujah. I have done people pleasing is a thing of the past. Then the other times that I'm like, oh, she kind of slipped on in there on me. And one of the things that I have found, and I know a lot of the people who are listening, they're either in relationships, they want to be in a relationship, they're in a situationship entanglement, it's complicated, kind of one of those text buddies.
Yes,
I call it text buddy relationships, or they are like we are actually in a committed, long-term, all things, knocking on wood, all things equal till death us do part. We don't want an out from this.
Right.
And one of the things that I've had to learn, and the people pleaser came out, even though my husband has never required it. He's one of the easiest guys to get along with that I've ever known in my whole 60 years on this planet.
Right.
Honestly, that I can remember.
Right.
So I thank God for choosing him for me and helping me to not be stupid enough to let that get away.
Right.
But I still have to deal with people pleasing that is ingrained when it comes to what we think, how we think we should be in a long-term marital relationship.
Right.
I find myself sometimes having to stop. And it's not so much that I do it directly.
Right.
It's the guilt you feel from not doing it. Like if I feel like, because we had this discussion, I used to cook all the time when my son was younger, nutritious meals, that kind of thing. In that phase of life, I cooked all the time. Mm-hmm. Now that he grown, married, got children of his own, cooking's not a big thing for me.
Right.
But I have to admit, because that was such a foundational thing, that I sometimes feel myself checking in with my husband because he does more cooking than I do. And I feel guilty. Oh my God, I feel guilty because it's like, baby, I don't want you to feel like I expect this.
Right. Isn't that something? Isn't that
something? And
we would feel that. We would feel that. But when we do it, it's not associated with that. You know what I'm saying?
No. And that's when I find out these little people-pleasing things that are so ingrained that it took me being in a relationship with somebody for it to come to the forefront. Yeah. Because, when you're single, you can eat out of a paper bag for a month and not feel nothing. Exactly. But then you got somebody else here whose values are a little different. And he's used to having a home cooked meal that he'll cook himself, and so I was a little bit like, there was every now and then I feel a little bit of guilt if he's cooked like all week long. Right. I feel kind of bad. I feel like, okay, Susan, you ought to go down there and cook something. Right. Go boil water or something. Act like you care, do something. And then I have to realize where it's coming from. It's not anything that he's ever required. And I've watched him. When he doesn't feel like it, he doesn't do it. Right. Exactly. I mean, really. Right. But then there's this part of me inside that doesn't want to believe that he's okay with it. Right. I totally get that. And I was saying that's another bonus of late life because I don't know what it is, but my husband likes to cook too. He probably cook more than me when it comes down to like the main meal. And I would be that,
I would be that person. You're like, okay, don't think I don't want to cook you anything. If you want something, just tell me what you want. I take care of whatever it is. I'm cooking or go get it, whatever. And I do that. And like you said, he don't require that from me. That's not a requirement, but it's like I feel guilty if I don't at least say it, if I don't at least offer it, And it'd be like, oh no, I got it. And oftentimes, I'm sitting upstairs somewhere, and he will actually bring me stuff, and I'm here like,
you see what I'm saying? And even when he says he doesn't mind, there's that part of me that goes into this hypersensitivity thing.
Right.
So that if he sighs it anyway, makes any reaction.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Then the inside of me is saying, see, you knew he didn't like it. You knew he didn't like it. And it doesn't have a doggone thing to do with it.
Thing to do with it.
And then the other thing is, you would think that was because I saw my mom do it. But the truth is, my dad cooked breakfast for us every single morning. And he never relied on mama to cook.
See?
So I don't know where this came from.
Is it cultural, society? Are we just listening to people? A lot of stuff kind of squeeze into the cracks without us knowing. Because I remember my dad cooking. He was one of those people who found stuff. But we had new discoveries when he cooked. But he enjoyed it. I'm from Georgia, I'm in Maryland now, but I was born and raised in Georgia. He would get those. I think the weirdest thing I remember him seeing is this big cow tongue or something.
Girl, they went to the same school.
Yes.
I opened a refrigerator one day and saw a hog's head and thought I was gonna die.
Yes.
It was in a plate, and I'm like, it was a hog's head staring back at me. They must have gone to the same
school. They went to the same school, trust me. And he would enjoy doing stuff like that. Like I said, we have like experimental plate type things, But it wasn't like it was always up to mom to do it. I don't know. I think what happens is we're so attached to our TVs, to social media, to, all this other stuff that we see that we've been kind of taught this is what it's supposed to be, which is a big problem. We always fall into what people say it's supposed to be, and we don't realize, a lot of people have, I don't know, I'm sure you heard about the Will and the Jada and all the entanglement stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's why that word has become very popular.
And everybody is so busy saying what it's supposed to be, but they're actually living their marriage the way that works for them. And I think that when we get to that point where we work on our relationships according to what we want instead of what they say it's supposed to be, and whoever they are, I think things will be so much smoother for so many different people.
I think so too. And I think because I watched it, and the only thing about it that I was concerned about was I felt like there was still some tension around it. I didn't feel like, I don't know whether it coming up after 4.5 years brought some other things to the forefront. Right. But I found myself the whole time going, say it. Right. I felt like she was kind of holding back a little bit. Right. So that might have just been me because
I think it's a lot of other stuff, a lot of undercurrent stuff that going on, but that is the way that they've chosen to run their relationship. She was if you're talking about what I called was, he was still feeling some type of way about it, and she was feeling like whatever you did, you did some stuff too. And they were both kind of like, okay, we agreed to this, but we still got some emotions tied up in it. And it will always be that. But when you have decided that this is what it's going to be, and you live by those rules or that you set, it works for them. I guess they're still there. So I'm assuming they're still working for them.
Yeah, they said bad marriage for life. So I guess. But I think too, and I'm glad you brought this up because this is something I did not think about, is that regardless to whether it was right or wrong, true, they were bringing us the full thing or there was still some discomfort. Mm-hmm. I think, and you can tell me if you think it's the same thing, I think a mark of healthy, if I should say that, is that you give you've been with that person or you have resolved trust enough that you're willing to give them room to discover. Right. It's like we both have gotten through that whole situation. And even if she's not at a point where she's ready to call a thing,
right,
it seems that there's capacity in him to say, okay, but there's enough love there. I'll give you room until you come to it.
Exactly.
Did you get that? I kind of got that feeling. And some people criticize that. And I'm thinking, well, I can understand that. But when you are in a relationship.
Yeah. When you're in a relationship, you have to realize that people are people. People grow. And I can try to force somebody to be or say something. But until they get to that point, you're basically wasting time. And I think their communication is so freaking strong that they're able to talk about whatever it is they need to talk about. Even when she was saying entanglement, he was like, entanglement.
So for the people in the back, what does that mean?
Right. I mean, he even said it like, call it what it was. Call it what it was.
Because people don't know what you're saying. What you say.
Right.
And she was like, an entanglement.
Right. And he's like, entanglement, okay. But like you said, he did seem to be able to give her that space to say, okay, until you're a little bit more comfortable with it, he knows his way. Until you're a little bit more comfortable, even if you're sitting here on TV and talking in front of all these people, I know you. And until you're comfortable with it, I can draw it to your attention, but I'm not going to force it on you. And I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And people looked at him like he was weak for that. And I'm like, that took a lot of strength. That took a lot of strength to be there, able to talk to your spouse about that type of situation, regardless of what your status were. Yeah.
And isn't that what we want? When we talk about relationships and everything and what we desire, underneath all these other things that we prefer, isn't the real thing we want is somebody who's going to have our backs.
Yeah.
Regardless to what it is, whereas other people might have run away, left us, rejected us, made us feel bad, shamed us, guilted us, that somebody who is going to be committed enough and see enough in us to want to stick around. Right. Even through the ups and downs and sideways and whatevers, that we want somebody, because I feel like a lot of what comes up a lot with people that I talk to that are high achievers like us is because we feel like we're going to be rejected if we don't achieve up to a certain amount. Right. That if I don't accomplish or achieve or perform up to yay high, you're going to think I'm not worthy of your time and you're going to leave me. You're going to check out in some way. Right. And I think that's what I know for me. One of the things that makes me love my husband the most isn't just that he makes up the bed or he cooks. It's that he handles that fragile part of me without fail, regardless to what the difference is. I am not afraid that he's going to abandon me. Right. And I have never, Trena, I'm telling you, and I'm 60 years old. That's what they say on my birth certificate. And that's what my knees tell me too. But I have never, even when you include my dad, I've never known a man that I could trust to that degree that you've convinced me that you solid. That I can be who I am with all my becoming complexities, bad days, good days, feel like it, don't feel like it, that you got my back, that ultimately you own Team Suzette. You ain't conflicted about it. You don't have to wake up in the morning and ask yourself, am I today? That you are on that. And it's imperfect because we're both learning how to be in a good relationship together. Right. But yeah, it was tested. Now, don't get it twisted. It was tested. Because I didn't come into the marriage. I wish I could say I came into the marriage 100% believing that. Right. There was some things still lingering that had not been resolved. Yeah. But one thing that I can say from us having a time where life called us on truth and dare. Right. Dared me to get honest with myself. dared me to call a thing with me, dared me to realize I'm not right. I'm not 100% right. Maybe, just maybe, I'm part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Right.
That dare that life can use marriage and relationships to, like, slap you awake with. And we had to go through that. And it was not easy, because I was the girl that, oh, honey, I know how to get out.
Look, my way or the highway.
Boo boo, don't get it twisted. I've gone through worse. I'll get over this. I was that girl.
Right.
But the good thing that I had to learn, which is what I was alluding to earlier, was this revelation that hit me, that's so related to self-love and self-care, is when you've only known failed relationships. The coping skills that you acquired to navigate your way through and out don't serve you when you're in a good relationship. But that's all I knew.
Right.
And so I'm glad that I had a husband with capacity. And like I said, and I mentioned God a lot in this, because one of the things I found about being in a good relationship is everything that I might have knowingly or unknowingly done to sabotage it, he won't let me. It's like the universe intervenes in some way that it's a glue I can't get away from, but it's a good glue. It's not a bad glue. Does that make sense?
It makes all kinds of sense. It makes all kinds of sense. And I'm going to tell you, deep down up under all of what you just said, it's all about, for real, self-love. It's all about knowing who you are. Because with that comes, that ego creep in every once in a while. Girl. Like a mug, creep in like
it do just like this. Like,
yes. But once you get to that point where you're like, and when it comes down to the universe and to God actually being there with you, is knowing in your heart that the best for you is available. And that no matter what, I have the faith that God is there with me, and everything and anything that I go through is for my growth and my learning, and that I'm still going to be at the best for me. It makes you a little less paranoid about what could happen. Yeah. Because in your heart, you already know the best is for you. Yeah. I thank God for my husband, because he is that person, like you said, he is that person who, we already had the discussion. And before this right here, we're going to be some stalking under your bed folk type people. Because to get where we are right now is like, it's so, like you said, it's so freaking cool to have somebody who allows you that space to grow, call you on it, but still allow you that space to grow, and able to have that conversation. And you're going to have your back. But like I said, it's all about, even with that, when you go through, going through situations like that, when you're with somebody, and, a lot of times we get to that point where, like you said, I came from a relationship where the reason my marriage ended was because of infidelity. And when you get it's the trust. Trust is so freaking hard to kind of grab it back up sometimes. Sometimes they just slip through your fingers. And you don't realize that you have those issues until you have those issues. And knowing that, this happened, but that doesn't mean that this is this person. And Trena, is it your experience that's talking to you, or is it your intuition? Because my intuition is on point. But sometimes our experience make us, go into different directions as well. But being able to see that, being able to talk that through, because hubby is also, he does a lot of coaching as well. And so he's aware of our stuff, the stuff that we go through and the stuff that we recognize and don't recognize. And he tried to call me on some stuff, y'all thinking, right? But anyway, being aware of who I am and whose I am make a world of difference when it comes down to being in a relationship with anybody. Because until we know who we are, we're going to always flounder back and forth between what they said it's supposed to be, how is it supposed to be, is this the way I'm supposed to do it? It's going to be a whole bunch of doubt, a whole bunch of, craziness that go on inside of you. But once you know you, once you have, and you know how to love you, you know what that feels like. You know what it feels like coming from somebody else. You know what to expect. You don't have to question if, do they love me?
Yeah. One of the sobering things that I had to learn getting married later in life was that with every failed, disappointing relationship, I lost more and more humility.
Mm.
And I started feeling like men owed me something.
Mm.
And so one of the beauties of being in a relationship, in a healthy relationship, is that I am getting that humility back, where I'm grateful. And I did not realize that that was the cost. And I think for a lot of high achieving women, they don't understand that the cost of continuing to bang your head against the same failed relationship wall over and over and over and over again is that you do lose humility. After a while, it becomes a thing where he owes you. I don't have time, baby. You go through all these different things that are really becoming more of a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
That makes it harder and harder for the very thing that you say you want so badly. And that's true love and true partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Our experiences are a mess. It can be a mess. Before I met my husband, I had, like I said, got out of a 23-year marriage, and I was dating. Like I said, I got married early, so dating was like, yay! I can date who I want to date. But what I found in that was I kept attracting the same type of person. And the good thing in you is you healed in your marriage. I had to heal before I can get into my, which is, healing is the key. So however you get it, I had to heal before I could get into mine, because what I found was I was attracting people who were not people I would commit to. And I didn't realize I was doing it, because we attract who we are. And that what we think and how we feel about ourselves. And the way I felt about myself was, I don't want to get into another relationship where I'm going to have to be hurt. So everybody I was attracting were people who I would not commit to. And I remember when I was like, what in the world is written on my forehead? Why are all the same people? The names start sounding alike. I'm telling you, why are the same people coming to me, right? And I honestly had to realize that they weren't just coming to me. I was drawing them to me because of how and what I expected. I expected, not to be trustworthy. I expected you not to be somebody I wanted to, get into anything with, because of your, and I was attracting those people simply because unconsciously, I believed that if I met somebody who I really liked, I would have to get into some type of commitment, and then I would have to trust. And losing trust was one of those things that was like the breaker for me inside of my first marriage. So we don't realize, like I said, you got your healing, and your healing inside your marriage. I had to get some of that healing before I could go into it, because it wasn't until I realized, what are you doing? That I decided, hey, you know what? Enough of that. Okay. I understand what happened. I understand that this is one person, and regardless of whether it was 30 people, it doesn't dictate who this 31st person is. And I have to be brave, and I have to be vulnerable, and I have to open my heart, and I have to trust whoever you trust in, whether it's the universe, God, source, whoever you trust in, that my best interest is through every single thing that I've experienced. And I have this saying where I say, every relationship is a lesson, and every breakup is a promotion. So when you go through these relationships and they don't work, you got something. You have learned something about yourself. When you break up with these people who you think are the one, you are getting promoted for the next person, because not only have you learned something, you know a little bit more about you, and you're never going to got sense. We're never going to go down. We're never going to date back down. We're going to try to get better as we go. So every breakup was a promotion, and it made it so much easier. So many people, especially women who are in their 40s, dating a little bit later in life, they have this time clock that's happening, or they feel like, I'm not going to find that person, or, everything is going right, and they settle for somebody just because I'm afraid of what's going to happen on the other side of that. But the thing is when you go through stuff, especially if you're continuing to repeat a pattern, look at that pattern. There's some lesson in there that you're not getting. There's a lesson. And when you get that lesson, you move to your next relationship, you're going to see it's a growth. So everything should be looked at as a growth. And it's a good thing. If you're in a relationship and it's not going well and you get something out of it and you're getting out of it, it's a good thing. Look at it as a good thing. Instead of feeling like you're trapped or you're not going to have time or whatever. When you go through stuff like that, it's just pushing you. It's like the world is saying, come on, girl, I'm waiting for you. Your goodness is waiting for you. Get through this, get it, and keep moving.
Keep moving.
So it's about, just getting those lessons and keep moving. Don't give up. Don't give up on love, because that's one thing that, a lot of people say, well, I don't know if I'm meant to have love. That's one thing we're all meant to have.
We're all meant to.
We're all meant to.
It's our birthright.
Yes.
Love is what brought us here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are all deserving of it. And just get through those things, get the lessons,
That's it. I used to tell somebody, you know what? So what if I fail? At least I fail forward.
Yes.
Before I used to fall backward, but at least I'm falling forward. And the men I'm dating are better than the ones I used to date.
Absolutely.
I'm going in the right direction.
You're going in the right direction. That's why I say failure is always an option. A lot of people say failure is not an option. Failure is always an option. Because if you're falling and you're getting back up, you're moving forward. So it's always an option. And when you see it as that, things become less scary. Things become less, desperate. You don't have to settle for this dude because he has 30% of the 100% or what you want, or because he has 40% of the 80% or whatever it is. You can actually keep moving and know that it's going to be okay. And I just think that is like such a freeing thing to know.
It is a freeing thing, because I think one of the things that keeps a lot of people down is they feel like, well, if I don't take this, it's not what I really want, but if I don't take it, then there's not going to be anybody else on the other side.
Exactly.
It's like, but if you already know there are plenty of fish in the sea,
right,
then you don't become as desperate to hold on to what's not good for you.
Right. And you stop those thoughts. You have to stop those thoughts, because when you think, that's one thing I've learned, that what you think is what you bring to you. So if you're thinking I'm not going to have anybody else, it's exactly what your energy is going to vibrate out. It's not going to be anybody else, because that's what you're focusing on. It's just like anything else. And I always use buying a car. When you're buying a car and you want that white Mercedes or whatever, everywhere you look is a white Mercedes. All of a sudden, like, where did they come from? It's because that's what you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on, what if I don't get any better? It's not the somebody better part that you're focusing on. You're focusing on the worry of it. So it's, what if I don't get somebody else? So that's what's going to come in front of you. You're not going to get it because you don't believe that you're first of all, you don't believe you're going to get it. You don't believe you deserve it. And so you bring it to yourself. But when you get that true feeling that I deserve the best, and everything that I'm going through is leading me on that pathway to that, it has no choice. Your goodness is waiting for you. There is no choice.
And I think what you said, that true feeling.
Yes.
Because a lot of people say I deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they keep accepting words is because they haven't had the true feeling.
Right. They don't really believe it. They don't. Something down deep down inside is telling them you don't deserve it, and they're believing that.
Mm-hmm. But then when you have that true feeling, it's like, for me, when I got that true feeling, it took the struggle out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When I got that true feeling, and I didn't realize that there was a true feeling to get.
Right.
All I knew is people saying, girl, you deserve better. I'm like, I know I do. And with them, it's easy. That's right. I deserve better. Then they leave.
Right.
And it's like, I think I deserve better.
Right.
But what happens if I let him go?
Right.
And then what am I going to do? So you kind of like, you deflate.
Yeah.
But when it's that true, it doesn't deflate. it only reinforces something inside of you, becomes more determined with it.
Yes. Yes. And I remember my friends used to say, well, how do you get over, these people so quickly? And it's like, because they're not it. I love people. I love meeting new people. But if I have thought that this is it, that you are the one for me, and you turn out not to be, why would I mourn you? Why would I mourn that? Okay, I know you're going to find a person for you. I'm excited now because I know that I can get that feeling. If I got that feeling with you and you're not the one, can you imagine that feeling with the one? Because my feelings are my own. So when you walk away, you're not taking away those feelings. You're just not the one. I am in control of my feelings. I take my feelings with me. Therefore, I know that I have it and it's possible because I had them with you. So when the person who's right for me, I can have them with him. You didn't take away those feelings. You just took away the distraction.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. Oh, it's so healing. I'm sure for the listeners, it's so healing because for so many, when they get out of a relationship, they don't take with them the good part. They don't take with them the good that they felt.
Right.
Or the growth. Well, I'm not growth because I don't know how much growth happened, but they don't take away whatever that good was before it went bad.
Right.
And they don't know how to.
The only thing that changed was the way you thought about the person.
Right.
Your thoughts.
Your mind. And they don't know how to separate the difference between, you can take the good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You can take the way it felt to be in love.
Mm-hmm.
You can take I was interested in how I looked. You can take that with you.
Absolutely.
But what ends up happening, that gets thrown out. And the only thing that gets taken is how he lied to me, cheated on me, treated me bad, defiled, betrayed my trust. And so that's what we take with us. And it is an energy. But if I'm hearing you correctly, when you have that shift and knowing you deserve, then what you take with you is different from relationship to relationship.
So, and when a person leaves, they can't take that with them. They can't take that. That's yours. It's yours. They can't take it. If you don't give it to them, if you don't allow them to take it, because that's the only way they can get it. People say, well, I gave him my all and I gave my all. Why? You share. We were taught to share. You don't give all your stuff up. Don't nobody do that.
No wonder you don't know who you are anymore.
Right, you gave away too much. Right, stop giving you up. What you do is you share. I know this is crazy. I have my endless cookies analysis, and what it is you are an endless supply of cookies. When people come into your life, they're sharing the cookies. You don't give them up because they're an endless supply. It's only when you give all of them up. But if it's an endless supply, they share. They haven't taken anything away from you because you still have you. You still have everything that's you. The only thing you've done is shared in your life. And when they leave, they're not taking a part of you. They're not taking a part of you. And you can move forward in that. I'm not saying you don't mourn a person because you're going to miss, but the reason we miss it is because of what we thought in our head of what we're going to do. Oh, our baby's going to be so cute. Or what kind of house are we going to live in? And you had gotten all excited about that. So what you're going to miss is the things that you have thought in your mind of what could be. Those thoughts are still yours. You give up time somewhere else, and better yet, just live life instead of trying to plot that fantasy. Because like you said in the beginning of the show, real life is so much more exciting than
yes, it is. It's not boring because you think you need all of that, whatever you have in your head in order for you to still feel in love. But I'd rather be in love than fall in love.
Yes.
Because if I fall, I don't have any say. I don't have any say. I can't set an intention.
Right.
I give all my cookies away.
Yes.
When I fall.
Yes.
But being in love is so much better because you get to show up. You get to be mindful, giving and receiving and being present in it. And that's more empowering than falling into something.
Yes, losing it. But who wants to lose that? And it's not even about the control, but who want to lose themselves to that level,
They don't want
No,
to.
you don't want to. You don't have nothing to give nobody else, not even yourself.
That's true. Oh my God, Trina, what a great place to land. What a great place to land.
Absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
my. Okay. Before we end, though, I know listeners are going to want to know how to reach you. If you got anything going on, they can come to, and any final, what you want their takeaway to be from our conversation.
Okay, so let's see. To reach me, okay, first of all, to reach me, I'm Trena Aloma on Facebook. I am Aloma View on Instagram. And what I have is I actually have online dating profile audits because I truly believe in online dating, especially during this pandemic. I met my husband, as a matter of fact, online.
Me too.
Because I just believe that in the world that we live in right now, there's so much stuff when it comes down to working and commuting and taking care of home that online was a lifesaver for me. And I totally believe in that. So I have an online dating profile, online dating profile audit that I'm offering for $97, where we go through your profile, we pick your pictures. I even help you with your initial responses, when you reply to people, and you kind of just get everything set up for that for you. I don't have any in-person events due to COVID, but I am looking forward to my 2021, fingers crossed, retreat. And, I'm really looking forward to that, setting that up to happen. But as far as last minute words is what I would leave you with is know that, like, this is your favorite line. Know that you're enough. Understand that you are enough. And even when you think you love yourself some more. Because you can never get enough of it. Love yourself some more.
That's it. Thank you so much, Trina. She took the words right out of my mouth. You're worthy. You're worth it. You are more than enough. Bye, y'all. You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Vernon. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough.